We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
You are listening to the FinFans podcast, where we discuss everything Miami Dolphins. It's the off season, and we're looking forward to a fresh new start under different management in 2026. We hope you'll join us and enjoy the show. And it's another FinFans podcast. With me today are the Ragones. How are you guys, Lewis?
I'm fine, Mark. Thank you.
You're fine?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great. The summer is upon us. And after the summer comes what, Mike?
Football season.
No, the fall, Mike. The fall. Which
call it what
turn,
you want. I'll call it what I want.
Which in turn brings on the football season. Yes. So yeah, I'm excited. We're a season away. Yeah. We got a hot summer ahead of us. Yep, those guys, woof. Boy, those OTAs must have been rough. But yeah, I'm doing great.
Chris?
Doing good. Like he just said, OTA started this week, so stuff's starting to ramp up. We're starting to see our rookies and younger guys. I mean, some of the vets, too, that came in for OTAs. But, yeah, we're starting to get reports. Things are starting to ramp up. We heard from Halfley again. So, we're getting closer.
We are. But there'll be a long break before we get training camp. So we'll talk about that in a bit.
A month?
About 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, when the OTAs are done, or?
No, I'll go over that.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Some news. The Dolphins signed ex-Packers defensive lineman James Esther, who spent 2 seasons on the Packers practice squad. They occasionally practiced him at guard in Green Bay while he was on the practice squad. He's 6'3", 289 pounds, which is light for an NFL guard. Give you an example, Aaron Brewer is 295 pounds, so he's lighter than him.
Wow.
Miami plans on working him at guard and just seeing how he develops. But, this is a guy you pick up off waivers, you sign him. If he doesn't develop, you've lost nothing.
Listen, with that frame, he can put 10, 15 pounds on.
I'm sure.
It's tall. He's big. Big guy. 15 pounds is nothing. Yep. That's 5 pounds per inch over that. What'd you say it was, Mike? 6 what?
6'3".
6'3", yeah. Okay, so that's 5 pounds over the 6 foot height.
Yeah.
For each inch, he's over 6 feet. Yeah, he can add weight. Go ahead.
I like the way you figured that out.
That's right, yeah.
That's advanced math right there.
All right.
Speaking of Brewer, apparently he's decided to skip at least some of the OTAs. Reasons are unknown, but it's assumed it's probably contract related. The mandatory minicamp, the one off-season practice that players are contractually obligated to attend barring an excused absence, will take place this coming week from June 2nd to 4th.
Mm-hmm.
OTAs continue June 8th and 9th and 11th, barring any changes. After that, the team will have about 6 weeks off until training camp begins in late July.
Mm-hmm.
All of the off-season program, except for that mandatory minicamp, is voluntary, which means they don't have to participate. However, all are incentivized to do so with weekly paychecks, and 5 players have workout bonuses in their contracts that compensate them anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000, according to Over the Cap. Jonas Savaianaya is pleased to be back on the right side, but insisted his job is to perform better no matter where he's asked to play. He seems more comfortable there, talking to offensive line coaches, Zach Yenzer and Matt Applebaum. They seem to believe he's more comfortable there. Hafley said, but it's also year 2 for him, so he's going to be more comfortable, period, whether he's on the left side or whether he's played on the right side. He's got more cumulative reps and muscle memory on that one side.
The bench is a comfortable spot, too.
He could end up there. You never know. Jamie Sawyer certainly is going to hope that happens. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's other guys competing for that spot, so we'll see how he does. Mm-hmm. Based on the media's limited viewing schedule, take this for what it's worth, but thus far Malik Willis is not timed up with his receivers in the OTA sessions that they have witnessed. And Willis said, I think it's just reps. That's all this thing's come down to is reps and understanding the timing of each person. This guy gets out of breaks a little quicker than this guy. This guy likes the ball more out in front than just on his body. All of these different things that you learn throughout reps. So it's continuing to get those. Hafley said the main focus for Willis with the start of the Dolphins training camp still months away is to simply have the signal caller get his feet wet with his new teammates in the offensive system. On the flip side, the defense has been forcing turnovers and the peanut punch has been evident, something we did not see much of under Weaver. The Dolphins took a look at running back Zaire White, who the Raiders chose to let test free agency after a disappointing 24 and 25 seasons due to poor performance or injury. To date, he hasn't been signed, so we'll see what happens there. Achane and Jackson are both recovering from off-season surgery, Jackson's foot and Achane's shoulder. Now, I've come to find out, and I'm sure other people have come to find out, that Jackson was actually playing with a broken foot last year. He refused to have surgery. He wanted to finish the season out, and he did. And we were a little hard on him, and knowing this, it kind of changes my opinion. You know, I think I give him some credit for playing through that. But he had to have off-season surgery, you know, and now he's got to recover and get on the field. So hopefully we'll see him by training camp.
Yeah, well, more importantly, I mean, obviously, you know, he's important to us as well, but had no idea that Achane had a shoulder issue.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I never saw anything reported in regard to that.
Yeah, that was interesting when I read that as well. But obviously,
what was it exactly?
I'm not sure. They said it was something just to clean up. But I mean, I think if it was anything, I think if it was anything like relatively serious, that contract probably doesn't get done. So think they probably would have tried to move him. So
I would agree.
That I'm not so worried about. But I mean, Jackson, it's like, you know, I'll give him credit for trying to play through a broken foot last year, but it's just like it's something new with him every single year. And usually as guys get older, it doesn't get any better. So I mean, something that's interesting that we talked about a little bit pre-show is that Hafley came out, you know, one of the reporters asked him, with Austin Jackson being out, do you want to give Caden Proctor some of the reps at right tackle? And he said no, doesn't want to overload him. So that's interesting because, I mean, what do you guys think will be the case if week 1 comes around and Austin Jackson's still not ready? Do you think they just go with the backup swing tackle, or do you think that they should play Proctor at that right tackle, which, in my opinion, that's what I would like to see, given the fact that he was drafted as a tackle, not drafted to play guard.
I think you put your 5 best guys out there, Chris.
Yeah. You see, I look at it differently, Chris. You said he was drafted as a tackle. Listen, I said this from day one, they drafted him to play guard. That's what they're doing right now. Now, eventually, maybe he goes to that tackle position, but for this season, and I mean, he backed that up. I mean, remember, I said this from day one when they drafted him, that he is going to be that guard. He's playing that guard position. With him and Patrick Paul on that side of the line, I think that they feel they can be dominant, with Brewer playing next to him. And that's what they're going to do. I mean, they're working him at that position, and that's where he's going to stay. So to answer your question, I think that, the swing tackle is going to wind up being the guy at that right tackle position, and Proctor is not getting moved off of that left guard position.
Yeah, my only pushback with that is, like, if we wanted to draft a guard, Vega Ione was on the board, was the best guard in the draft. So I'm not going to say that I know more than they do, but it doesn't really quite make sense. And you got to look at it from this perspective too. Like if Austin Jackson isn't playing, so now we're going to have a swing tackle playing on that right side next to Jonah instead of trying to balance out the line.
Listen, Chris, we've done that before. I mean, Jackson's missed a lot of time over the last couple of years, and we've plugged guys in that have done an adequate job. Now, with all that being said, for this season, okay, I know you keep bringing up the fact that we should have just drafted the guard. Well, not necessarily, because I think that long term, eventually Proctor is going to go to that right tackle position. But for this season and for this team and the struggles that they had inside, you're going to have Proctor there. It's simple as that, at least for this year. And maybe even next year. How much longer is Austin Jackson under contract? It's
just this year.
Yeah.
It's just this year. So, like
he
the
has
coach
no more
said,
guaranteed money, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So depending on what happens, if he has a decent season and he's healthy and they decide to, re-sign him or whatever, I mean, then so be it. And you leave Proctor at that guard position. But for this year, he's going to be our left guard. And I think going forward, the reason that they did draft him over the guard, Chris, is because their intent is to eventually move him to that right tackle position as to where the guard wouldn't have been. So then you worry about the guard position, next year or going forward. And then you have a rock solid guy there that, that can actually play that right tackle position as well. So, you're kind of doing something for this year, because you have Austin Jackson in place. And then, going forward, they're thinking ahead. These guys are not stupid.
I was going to say, I'm sure they've discussed all this ad nauseum, before they decided to make these decisions.
Yeah. Did you hear their process? That they discuss it. They bring in the analytics part of it. They have like 3 different areas that they attack when they were drafting these guys. You guys saw that, right?
Yeah.
In the press conference?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, where they, they have 3 different avenues that they go down prior to drafting these guys. They bring in the analytics part, and then they also bring in film. They have 3 different avenues that they go down before they decided upon a guy. And
your investigation, your analytics, and your film.
Yeah, and exactly. And, there's a process here. And again, as Mike said, I think that this has been discussed. And that, they're not only thinking about this season, but they're thinking about going forward. You have to have, for at least this season, in order to evaluate Malik at its best, to have, the 5 best guys out there. And I think their thought process was, at least for this season, again, to, have Proctor play that guard and have, Austin Jackson at that right tackle position. Then they feel that they've got, if you think about it, if Austin Jackson stays healthy, you do have 4 solid linemen there. If Proctor pans out to be the guy that, we expect him to be as a number 1 draft pick. Because Brewer's rock solid, and so is Patrick Paul.
You give the quarterback a solid blindside.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, the blind side's going to be fine. I'm just worried about, because you just said if, and that's a huge if. And Austin Jackson hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his whole career. So
yeah,
all I'm thinking about is if he goes down, which, I don't want to wish that upon anybody, but it's probably going to happen. Yeah, his blind side is right, but now you're looking at a swing tackle in Jonas Avainaya on the right side, which, whether we're trying to run the ball or pass the ball, that's going to be a glaring weakness.
But you're probably banking on the quarterback being able to avoid a rusher coming from the side he can see.
Yeah, right. But when he's constantly doing that throughout a game and not being a bigger, Malik's not a pretty big quarterback, so it's just, I don't know, man.
Well, listen, hold on 1 second now. What position were we in last year, right? With Tua at the quarterback position. And that was his blind side, the right side, right? Mm-hmm. You had the rookie there at right guard, and you had Austin Jackson out how many games last year?
Rookie last year.
Who was
Cole
playing?
Strange.
Cole Strange, and who played right tackle most of the season last year? I mean, Austin Jackson missed quite a bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
He missed a few.
I cannot think of who was playing right tackle for majority
I can't
of the season,
remember either.
Keon
So
Smith got hurt too. So
and the year prior, if you go back to the year prior, Austin Jack. I mean, so we've been in a position, on that right side for this is going to be the third year where there's question marks there, and somehow, some kind of way, Achane ran the ball like a beast. And, as far as I was concerned, I thought the offensive line, as far as pass protection, for the most part last year, even on that right side, did an adequate job. When we were very concerned about the running game, and we were concerned about the pass protection. With a quarterback like Malik Willis that can get away from, a pass rush, I think it's a lot less important than it was with Tua. I mean, you guys have to agree with that, right? I mean, this guy is, it's like night and day back there. You've got one of the best running quarterbacks as compared to a guy that was maybe the worst in the NFL. I mean, there's not many worse than Tua in regard to, getting around the pocket and getting away from a pass rush. So, I think that, I think the offensive line will be fine, as long as Austin Jackson somewhat stays healthy. And then if he's not, then we worry about it when that, we cross that bridge when we have to. But
Larry
right now,
Borum was the right tackle.
Borum.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Borum, and he played well last year.
Right. So who's to say that, Chris?
Well, because like I said, Savai Nayo was on that left side, and we're hoping that he takes a big jump going into this year. But if he doesn't, then like I said, even if Austin Jackson plays, that right side's going to be shaky nonetheless. But
I would say that this season, as long as Proctor, plays well, the offensive line will be better than it was last year. I believe that. I
would agree with that, but that's still a big if.
I think that Jonah, as they said, moving over to that right side where he's much more comfortable, is going to be a better right guard than he was a left guard. And as long as Austin's on the field, we're going to be better at that right tackle position. And then obviously Proctor at the left guard position, should be a big improvement over what Jonah did last year. I mean, Jonah was one of the worst offensive linemen in football last year.
He was pretty much the worst guard in football, according to PFF, if you go by that. But whatever, we all saw him play. He was not good.
No, he was not good. Yeah, we didn't need anybody to tell us he wasn't good. We couldn't pick up a yard if our life depended on it last year. It was bad, So, listen, time will tell. I mean, we can go back and forth and whatnot, but I think, Chris, that the coaches are making the right decision in regard to Proctor just not throwing too much at him. Let him concentrate on that guard position, at least for this year.
Yeah, I feel the complete opposite, and we'll see. Time will tell, and we'll revisit this conversation midway through the season.
Yeah,
it's just.
I agree with the old guy.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with the head coach. That's who I agree with.
Yep.
I mean, at this point, we basically have to trust in their decision making. And, until we can't, right? I mean, we've been down this road before with head coaches, GMs, so on and so forth. We have to believe in what they're seeing in these guys, what their game plan is.
Just putting Jonah on the right side tells me they know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, their response was completely different than what the response was last year when the reporters asked Mike McDaniel and company and Butch Berry, like, oh, you don't think that putting him at his natural position at right guard, would benefit him more? And they pretty much said no. And I mean, I guess my whole thing with the Proctor thing is like, we've said this before too. It's like the guy hasn't played guard since his freshman year in high school. And if he didn't play it at all at the collegiate level, and now we're asking him, and it's not like he dominated at tackle at the collegiate level. I mean, he had good reps and he also had bad reps. So it's like,
Well, maybe that's the reason they moved him inside, Chris. I mean, maybe they feel that he's going to be a better guard in the NFL.
I mean, that's just, I don't know. Like I said, the prospect that was there at guard that went 3 picks later to the Ravens. I mean, this is a conversation that we will revisit, towards the end of the year and the next couple of years. Like, did we pass on another all-pro type guard? Because that's what this guy is supposed to be, as to where Proctor's, a hit-or-miss type guy. And with him being the hit-or-miss type guy and us moving him to a completely different position, even though he's still on the left side, I have worries about it. So, like I said, I mean, we'll see. Time will tell, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Don't worry. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah, I've been hearing that for 30 years.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back for just a couple minutes, and we'll be right back. John Eric Sullivan is expected to hire senior college personnel advisor Sean Herrick, who worked for the Packers for 18 years, and with John for 8 of those. He also spent time with Cleveland and Las Vegas.
And what are we hiring him as?
Well, he was a college personnel advisor, so obviously he's going to help with the college scouting.
Scouting, I like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I don't like the 2 teams that Mike mentioned at the end.
Well, yeah, but he was
and,
with the Packers for 18 years, so.
Right. When was he with Cleveland and the Raiders? Prior to that, I hope.
He was with the Raiders, I believe, last year.
Oh, okay.
And I think he when the last coach got fired, he was the interim last GM got fired. He was the interim GM.
Okay, gotcha.
So, all right. But anyway, the guy's got experience. He knows Sullivan.
Yes.
And what can go wrong, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, these guys all have to be on the same page. I mean, we all know when you go to work that, the guy, you're comfortable with people that
you trust,
that you've worked with before, right. And you trust, right? You don't, the Dolphins always seem to have a disconnect, even between the head coach and the GM. I mean, how many times did we see that over the years?
Too many.
Where, I think there was a lot of disagreements. Reports came out that, they were never on the same page.
It was, it was a combination of things, Louis. It wasn't just that they disagreed. It was sometimes they agreed when they shouldn't have.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying.
When the GM needed to stand up for himself and say, hey, no, we're not doing that. We're doing this.
Yeah, I think it was the opposite way more so, though, Mike. I really do. Maybe. Especially when Flores was here. I think that, Flores...
Well, all right, Flores has a stronger personality. I agree with that.
Yeah, so anyway, all right, what else we got news-wise?
Linebacker Jordan Brooks said it feels like being on a new team, but he's excited for the fresh energy. He said, here it is. I mean, in a weird way, though, a lot of new faces, a lot of new coaches, staff members everywhere, a lot of new players. So it kind of feels like being part of a new team. Same jerseys, but kind of a new feel, and that's pretty exciting for me. He likes the way Hafley has carried himself through the first practices and appreciates the learning structure he has in place.
Yeah, and I like the way Jordan Brooks has carried himself, too. I mean, we just talked about Brewer not showing up.
Yep.
Jordan Brooks was there, and he's also searching for a new contract, and I think this is part of the reason why he does deserve some sort of raise. I mean, not only is he, a great guy in the locker room and can be one of these veteran leaders. I mean, he had an all-pro season last year, so...
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think
the guy does everything you want a player to do.
Yeah, and the only reason why I can see them maybe trying to trade him instead of re-signing him or giving him an extension or whatever is because how many guys we drafted that they feel can play that inside linebacker position, which is also a little bit puzzling to me, but I don't want to seem like I keep taking shots at what they did in the draft. It's just, inside linebacker was a position with Brooks and Dotson there that I felt that we were pretty solid. We have holes everywhere else on the defense and on the whole football team. But, like you said, we got to trust the vision and,
Yep, they're building a foundation, Chris, Mm-hmm. So you have to understand that. What they're doing is they're looking forward.
Mm.
Okay, so this is not a finished product.
Yeah.
You have to understand that. So, they're going to make some moves that might be a little bit head scratching, but they have something in mind that we're just not privy to.
Yeah.
Barry Jackson asks, and for those who don't know who that is, he's one of the main reporters for the Dolphins that works for the Miami Herald. Very good writer. One fascinating discussion point about the Dolphins in recent days has been whether they're better off spending what it takes to add several top remaining free agents, or whether they should simply play their young guys and veterans and only add a couple of cheap, decent veterans at need positions. And he bounces that back and forth and gives the pros and cons of each, but rather than reading what he thinks, what do you guys think?
I think that option B is the better option. And I don't even know where we would pull the money out to do option A and sign some of these, bigger free agents that are left. And, we've talked about this too. I mean, this season we're not going to be looking solely at wins and losses. We're going to be looking to see how these young guys develop and how they play and how they step up against different guys. Chris Johnson being a main example. As a guy who's coming from a small college, didn't play a lot of elite receivers in college, I'm going to be looking to see when we play the Jamar Chases, which we're going to be playing this year, the Justin Jeffersons, the guys like that. Even some of the better rookies that are going to be in the league this year that we're playing. So, I mean, option B, I like a lot more, signing guys who are solid veterans, maybe guys who are leaders in the locker room that can show these young guys how it's done that aren't necessarily in the prime of their career. We're not looking for all pro seasons for them, but kind of like Rasul Douglas last year, who came in, he didn't cause any commotion or, was the opposite of a cancer to the locker room, which some of the other guys we had were that. He came in and not only did he do his job, but, like I said, he stayed out of the headlines. He wasn't, he was just going with the flow of what the thing or what the season turned into,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Saying, I don't want any veterans on this football team at this point. I mean, the objective is to, see what you have on the roster right now. You don't want playing time being taken away from guys because going in the next season, then you understand where you're going to be. I mean, all the veterans are going to do is plug a hole. They bring in a whole different, frame of mind. It's always a risk. Sometimes they're prima donnas, and sometimes, as Chris said, you get a guy like Douglas that comes in, just does his job, does it well, and you don't hear anything bad. But how many times have we seen the complete opposite? It's hit and miss. You want young guys to have guys like Brooks, who we talked about, people like that, veterans. Malik Willis, our quarterback, looks like that type of player. Great work ethic, looks like a real leader out there. Very respected around the league, very respected from his ex-teammates, his coaches, obviously, because they brought him in here. So those are the type of guys you want. Again, you don't know what you're getting with these veteran guys when you're bringing them in. You just don't want it. There's a lot of negatives to doing that, and the positives outweigh the negatives in not doing it. So I agree with Chris on that. Just leave the roster alone and let the chips fall where they may.
He agrees with you guys for the most part. The one exception he would make is at receiver, where he believes bringing in a veteran would be helpful to Willis.
I agree with that to some extent. I mean, not
hard
breaking,
to argue with that.
And who are these type of guys that he's referring to? I mean, what are we talking
Diggs,
about?
Brandon
Tyree
Cooks, Tyler
Lockett,
Curtis Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Noah Brown.
No. All of those guys.
Josh Reynolds, Zay Jones, Tim Patrick, Hunter Renfrow, Braxton Berrios, Sterling Shepard, and Juju Smith-Schuster.
I think the only guy I like out of that group is DeAndre Hopkins, and
maybe
I'll tell you
Patrick. Maybe Patrick, Chris, because
he said Tim Patrick.
Yeah,
yes.
Tim Patrick was solid last year. I just think D-Hop, as a former one of the best receivers in the league, he can offer still. Because, I mean, he hasn't been utilized a lot the last couple of years, but one thing he's always been good at is contested balls. And I think he could help Malik in that position. But I think you would bring him in more so to show all these younger guys what it takes to play at that all-pro level and what it takes to get there.
Yeah,
so I would like that. I just don't see him. I mean, if nobody else offers him a contract, then I could see him coming. But he's already came out and said that, obviously never winning a Super Bowl, he wants to play for a contender, and he's still got a little bit of juice left. But he's another guy who's the opposite of a prima donna wide receiver, even though, like I said, at one time he was one of the best in the league. Never been that guy who's known to cause distractions and stuff like that. So out of that list of the group you said, I mean, I would like D-Hop aside from that, we have enough guys in that room. Let them compete.
I mean, a Hunter Renfrow, guys like that, I don't think that they're, you got to bring in a guy that's, if you're going to do that, you bring in a guy that, as Chris said, can teach the younger guys, how to get it done in the NFL. And a high character guy, almost like bringing in a wide receivers coach, he would be, that sort of. And I don't know these guys personally. None of the three, none of us know that, right?
That's right.
So the coaches know what type of individuals these guys are. And if they make a decision to bring in a guy like that, I have no problem with that, because if you look at our starting receivers right now, the starting three guys on the depth chart, you've got Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, and Tutu Atwell. Those are our three starters. So, and then past that, you got a lot of young guys. So, Taj Washington's still here on the roster. Weiss is still here. He was on the roster last year, right? Is there anybody else? I think that's it. You got basically three guys that were on the roster last year, and that goes with the scout team or whatever as well. Those are the only three guys that were literally on this roster last year at that position. So, other than that position, and I don't have any problem with that. Just going out and getting one of those veteran guys.
I got a question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
3 players you expect to make a positive impact that others may be overlooking.
Others that we're overlooking in regard to making an impact?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris,
3 surprises, basically.
All right.
So start with the 3.
One, I'll go with Greg Dulcich. Maybe as far as our fan base, us seeing what he did last year when given the role, I think he's gotten a lot of good reports so far from these OTAs. The guys have been saying that he's been pretty much Malik Willis's number one target. I think if he can stay healthy, he can put up a pretty good season. And, we just talked about the lack of, talent we have in that wide receiver room. He's going to get plenty of opportunities. So I'll go with him as one. Juju Brents is another guy who, if he can stay healthy, just watching a video of him run out of the locker room yesterday, it's crazy that how, he's a guy that looks the part. He's big.
He can play. He can't stay healthy.
Exactly. So, barring health, I think if he stays healthy, him on the other side of Chris Johnson, I like him. I think he can be good. As far as a third guy,
Chris Johnson, I think they're going to play in the slot.
He's going to play plenty of slot, but they said he's going to play the outside too. So,
what side of that question are you on here? The guys that are surprises, or guys that was that a 2-part question, Mike, or it's just one?
No, it's one.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
All right,
guys who other people are overlooking that we think can make an impact.
Okay.
So that's 2, and then I'm going to go with the wild card on this one. For the third guy, I'm going to say Zach Sealer. He had a down year last year. I'm sure not just people in our fan base, but around the league, they're probably like, maybe he's done. Maybe he's this, that, and the third. I think Sealer can have a big bounce back year, and he can have an impact on Jordan Phillips and Kenneth Grant and Zeke Biggers, the other guys in that inside offense or defensive line position. And what's interesting about that too is I was listening to one of the coaches talk the other day, the defensive line coach, and instead of having like an edge group and then the inside of the defensive line, the defensive tackle, they're all in one group now. So they're all watching film together, and they're all essentially one group, which I like because they can learn from each other and stuff. And just seeing this is a side note, but seeing Jordan Phillips throw that sled around, I mean, he's another guy who I think, who I think if I had a fourth guy, he'd probably be my fourth guy.
Yeah, they're really happy with the way he's reshaped his body.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Biggers has done some work at that as well, and they seem to be impressed with him as well.
Yeah.
The guy you don't hear anything positive about, not that they're saying anything negative, but, is the first round pick,
Grant, yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to break for a few moments, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, this is Mike again, breaking in for a second just to ask a favor of you. We would like to request that you go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and rate the show. Let us know how we're doing. We'd very much appreciate it. Thank you, and fins up.
Yeah, so my three, Chris, you hit on two of them. I mean, Phillips, I think that he's going to wind up being a starter for us over Grant, our number one draft pick. I think that
they play slightly different positions, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as starters, I think he's going to get more playing time, Mike, regardless. I think they have him both penciled in at that left defensive tackle position because Sealer is, at that right defensive tackle position. So I guess it just depends on, what type of defense they have out there.
Yeah, what the front is.
But Phillips, Phillips is a guy that I think is going to excel this year. The other one that you mentioned, Brent's, absolutely. I think he's going to be a starting outside corner for us. I think he's going to beat out Storm Duck as long as he's healthy. I liked him last year. I think he's going to be a big surprise this year as long as he's healthy. But my number one guy is Malik Washington. I think that, people are just saying, well, God, Malik's he's our number one receiver. I think that with Malik Willis throwing to him, he's going to be a whole different animal altogether. So I think that he's going to put up very good numbers. He's not going to be a beast, in this offense without a question of a doubt, but he's going to have an extremely good season for us. He almost has to, from that wide receiver position because there's not an awful lot out there. But it's not only that. I just like his talent. I like the way he approaches the game. I like the way his vision, once he has the ball in his hands, is very, very good. And, they exploited that a little bit, in our offense last year on the McDaniel. They always tried to get him those bubble screens and stuff like that. But I want to see him getting the ball down the field when it's a one-on-one situation, and see what he can do. And get the ball down, to him. And I know, Mike, you talked about he had a separation problem. Well, so did Devontae Parker, but Parker excelled. Gadsden.
Parker excelled at the 50-50 ball. So
right.
A little different situation.
Well, no, even on slants and and other. I mean, listen, Devontae was a guy that never got a ton of separation all over the field. It didn't matter.
But something, Lewis. He had trouble getting separation in that very quick timing offense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Could be a completely different situation now.
That's right.
Yep. And I was going to mention Gadsden as another guy that never really got a ton of separation, but my goodness, did he come up with balls, and he was another 50-50 guy. I want Malik to have, the more opportunities in the offense, and I think he's going to. So he's my number one guy that I think is going to really surprise a lot of people this year. He's got 2 years under his belt now on top of that. So, he understands what's got to get done out there. So he's my number one.
Yeah, and he's a guy that has been getting talked up a lot this offseason and even through these OTAs. I mean, they said, obviously there's not much to compare him to, but they said he's definitely looked like the most polished and the best receiver throughout these OTAs so far.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, and if I had to add a fourth like Chris did, it would be Mark Gronowski, the fourth-string quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I just want to, you know what, Chris, you I was going to just leave it alone until you butted in and see what Mike's reaction to that was going to be. And you screwed it up. But go ahead, Mike. Next. What do we got next?
My reaction would have been, you nuts.
All right, go ahead.
He has the most wins amongst any college quarterback in college football history.
Well,
So,
maybe he becomes our backup then.
Maybe. I mean, they said, though, that Quinn Ewers has looked decent so far throughout this.
Right.
So.
All right.
I thought I actually heard the word good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's easy to look good in OTAs when there's no pads on. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I mean, the defense obviously has had the edge because they know you're passing. You really don't run in OTAs.
Right.
So, they're playing pass, and that gives them an advantage because they don't get sucked in for play action and all those other things.
Yeah,
and it's a new offense, too. It's a new quarterback, a bunch of new receivers.
Right.
So, the defense should have the edge. But it's good to hear what we've been hearing about Kyle Lewis. They said he's looked good. He's jumped a couple passes, a couple interceptions. He's got good ball instincts, and he's a guy, good. I mean, I guess it can be another honorary mention that people are overlooking that, can end up getting some PT.
Mm-hmm.
I never get too excited about how players look this early in camp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One way or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
What I want to see is how they look once pads come on, once they start having joint practices and the preseason games. If they stand out there, then they have maybe a better chance of success.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Gay looked great last preseason and hardly played during the regular season.
Right.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he did have opportunities, and I think he did a decent job, when we had some injuries and stuff. But, some of the other guys, and then we'll move on to the next question. I mean, Storm Duck's a guy that got hurt real early, and, I think that he'll be a guy that is going to add depth here, and, he may be a surprise. And, you had other guys. I mean, Marshall, played a little bit last year, didn't he? Jason Marshall,
yeah. He was more so in the nickel. And I haven't heard a lick about them talking about him playing nickel this year, so maybe
me neither.
And then you got another guy fighting for that outside position as well.
Yep, and you got Boner as well. So, he's out there. You do have some guys that have been on the roster in that secondary that are coming back from injury. So we'll see.
The one position group you'd absolutely address after June 1st.
After June 1st, well,
right, when we get some money.
I'll just say this real quick. We already discussed it. It was the wide receiver position. Yeah, that's all that needs. I think we discussed that in length, and I think that's the secondary.
So that's the position you'd go for. You're not worried about safety or
no. Now you got enough young guys there. Let them listen. What's his name? Michael Taff. The guy that they drafted. See how these guys are. See what you've got in them. Trader Jr., Lewis Moore. You got just let these guys go out there and see what you have in them, and then you can, if you need to address it, then so be it. But we already discussed that. And
you agree, Chris?
No. For me, it's absolutely the safety group, and
really,
this is. Exactly how I feel about the DeAndre Hopkins situation. You bring in a veteran who is a good locker room guy who is also going to compete for a starting job, but more so can show these young guys because we have nothing but youth.
But who's out there, room. Chris? Poyer? You're going to bring a guy like that back?
Poyer's not. I wouldn't say he's a great locker room guy in general, but I'd have to look at the list. But looking at what we have there, Dante Trader. Looking at him compared to last year, he definitely put on some weight. He's another guy that they've raved about this offseason and going into this OTA. So I like Trader. I think he's going to be the starter at one position. But on the other side, like you said, you have Michael Taff. You have who was the other guy you named? Was it Lewis Murphy?
Or you're talking about at the safety position?
Yeah, at the safety. He was an undrafted guy from I want to say maybe Indiana, the team that won the college national championship. They said he's looked decent, but when you look at that room, there's just not a lot there. So I'd like to see them add a veteran there.
You got Trader, Colbert, Lewis Moore, Taff.
Yeah, Lewis Moore. That's what I was thinking about.
And then you got Zane Anderson, Lonnie Johnson Jr.
I mean, Lonnie Johnson has bounced around. Zane Gonzalez, you just said, he's going to be more of a special teams guy. I don't see him cracking the field a lot at that safety position. But, yeah, I mean, corner, I guess, is another group that I would think, aside from wide receiver, which you named, but corner, I think we have so many bodies there. I think a couple of them are going to stick. The safety position, I'm definitely worried about.
Yeah, you got Diggs. Diggs is still out there, I believe. Trevon Diggs at the corner position.
Yeah,
Donovan,
he's another guy who's a cancer. You don't want to bring a guy like
exactly.
that.
Donovan Wilson at the age of, I mean, basically he's 31 years old. He's a safety that played for the Cowboys. He's probably the best available, safety out there right now. I mean, there's just, I just don't know if there's anybody that, that is going to be worth throwing any kind of money at,
I'm talking about signing to, like, if not a minimum, a little bit more than the minimum. I'm not saying we should go out and break the bank for any of these safeties. I just think.
But when you're offering a minimum contract, what's their incentive to come here?
The money's tax free. Number two, if nobody else is really offering them contracts,
well, that's
or a team, or a team like
hope.
the Browns. I mean, it's a lot like not even just the draft pick, but a lot of the free agents that we signed. You're coming in here to show the NFL that you still do have some juice left. So you come on a 1-year prove it deal. If you exceed your expectations, and maybe you get a contract from somebody else next year. So, and it's Miami. Come on, Mike. Everybody wants to come and live in Miami for a few months out of the year.
Got Brian Cook out there. He's still out there. The safety,
another decent guy.
Cincinnati. I mean, I'm just looking. You got Reed Blankenship that played for the Texans. He's 27.
I like him. He's another guy who's, a high character guy, good locker room guy, played on the Eagles, knows what it takes to,
Brisker,
succeed.
who played for the Steelers, but I don't think he's a very good
player. I mean, there's not, I'm not looking
Kobe
to sign
Bryant?
a guy.
Kobe Bryant?
Is he a free agent still?
I don't know. He may have agreed to a contract with the Bears, actually. Some of these guys, actually, I think were signed that I'm mentioning. I don't know. I don't think this is updated. But anyway, yeah, I get it. All right. So safety, you're saying. Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
All right.
Well, we could definitely use help at both wide receiver
Without a doubt.
and safety.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can argue it back and forth.
Agreed.
But they're both positions of need. The question is, are you better off just playing your guys and not worrying about the need?
That's what I'm
considering where we are, in the rebuild, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the edge group. I mean, I think the edge could definitely use another guy or two.
Well, I mean, listen, we can go through the whole roster.
Yeah.
No, but I think those four groups that we just named are like the glaring needs. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't even think about the edge group. But
edge, without a doubt.
Aside from Chop Robinson, it's
ugly. But again, like Mike said, you're taking snaps away from guys you really want to evaluate. I mean,
well, there's not a whole the ton of guys that we brought in to evaluate at the edge position.
Well,
we signed Max Llewellyn in the 6th round, and you drafted what was his name, Trey Moore, and he's played more inside linebackers and another smaller guy. So
Trey Moore's more so a linebacker. Yeah, you got
the free agent, right?
Well, our starters,
Josh Uche. I mean,
we got I mean, edge. I mean, it's rough out there.
I mean, the question for Chop and the question for Uche really is, can they set the edge? That's really the question.
Yeah,
those are probably the two guys that are penciled in as our starting edge, right? Uche and Chop.
I would think so.
Yes, Uche absolutely is going to be. I don't see anybody.
And he's a guy that's only had a couple sacks the last couple of years. So, I mean, if you're expecting him to be the guy that comes in and gets pressure, I'll tell you what, man, it's
going to be rough.
It is.
You're going to see a lot of blitzing.
Yeah.
A lot of blitzes.
Maybe that's why they drafted so many inside linebacker guys. So we can just blitz all the time.
Blitz.
All right, last question. Your overall feel and impression of Jeff Hafley.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back for just a couple minutes, and we'll be right back.
I'll let you go first.
I like the guy a lot. I mean, I like everything listen, you talk about it all the time. They're telling you what you want to hear, basically. But you know what? These guys have an approach and a game plan, and that's what I like. I mean, and you know what? They reveal it. I mean, when you when you threw questions at McDaniel, it was a blah 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 blah, and then in the end, you sat there. Did he ever answer the question? Did he ever answer it, or did he just do a little dance around the question and then never really gave you a direct answer to anything? And Greer would always dismiss certain things. The question about the offensive line. Well, the fans are more worried than I. That type of thing. I mean, these guys are basically, from what I've seen, not only with our head coach but the GM, is that they're professional in their answers, and they're very, very. I mean, any answer that they give, any question that is thrown at them, it's detailed. They detail everything that they are discussing across the board. Well, we do this, we do that, we have this method of doing this, and that's what I'm
going to interject for a second, Lewis.
Go ahead.
We had Tua at quarterback, McDaniel as coach, and Greer as GM.
Yeah.
Has there ever been 3 worse people at the microphone in Miami Dolphin history?
No, I don't think so. Honestly. I mean, and then you had your star player who was, you can throw, since you threw Tua in, let's throw Tyreek in as well. You had 4 guys that represented your franchise and you looked at them and you're like, okay, well, you got a very selfish guy, a guy that's constantly creating problems as your star player, your quarterback who basically, just danced around things and blamed other people for, at times for, what he did.
Show me the money, just sit on your couch and eat Doritos, all the nonsense that came out of his mouth.
And so go back to what I said. You have 2 guys, and the same with Malik Willis. I mean, now we could throw him into that as well. You've got 3 guys basically at the top of your organization that you feel confident in, and you like the way they're approaching everything. I mean, Malik Willis's work ethic is above and beyond, and when you hear him talk and you hear some of the things that he does, you love it. You didn't hear a lot of that about Tua. You just didn't. You didn't hear, Chris, you can argue that, but, listen, the results across the board and, press conferences and stuff like that.
I think after he got his money was a different Tua. I think the Tua before he got his money, he did work hard from what you could see.
And not only what you can see, but what you've heard from everybody around him. Once he got that contract and they told him to stop working with that quarterback coach that he was working with, that, every offseason he would work specifically at one thing to try to improve his game. I think he was doing that. But to what Mike just said, I agree with that too. I don't think it was just the Dolphins telling him they don't want him to work with that quarterback coach. He definitely changed a little bit after he got that money.
Yeah.
I mean, the show me the money thing here, he already came out and said
he was joking.
It wasn't even he was joking. It was Darrell Bevel that, basically dared him to, or, egged him on to say that in front of the fans. So, I mean, that's been reported already. But what you're saying is complete. Like when you listen to Malik Willis talk, and when you listen to when you see, you can tell he's really putting in that work. So
absolutely,
I agree with that standpoint.
I mean, listen, like I said, I think that just the approach from our head coach and our GM and how they deal with these players as compared to what we had in the past. I'm very impressed by it, and I think the players are, because when you go in there and you're talking to a guy like him as your head coach, Mike, over Mike McDaniel, I mean, what impression are you going to get? I mean,
he's a professional. I'm going to respect him.
I'm going to give him the utmost respect, and I'm going to look across that desk and see somebody that's that's just a whole different animal than somebody that's basically, trying to be my buddy. I mean, granted, he has a great relationship with the players, at least, it seems that way, that he cares about them. And I'm not saying Mike McDaniel didn't care about the players, but
he overly cared about them.
Yeah, it was just he was too passive and so on and so forth. This guy is very professional in how he approaches it, and I love it. And I think that you're going to see the results of that type of professionalism on the football field, and it's going to come quicker than what everybody thinks. So yeah, I'm very impressed by everything that this organization's been doing, decision-wise as well. Chris?
You agree, Chris?
Well, so yeah, I do. I do agree with a lot of things he just said. When you compare him to the last two guys that we've had at the helm, I think he's got a little bit of both. I mean, he's definitely, like Lou just said, one of the last things he said, he can connect with the players. And I think he's like, that's something that's very important to him. That's something he's came out and said that's very important to him, to build that rapport and, to build that relationship with the players.
Trust.
And, yeah, exactly, the trust. But I also see, maybe not to the extent that Flores was, but a guy who's going to come in and hold guys accountable, who's not going to just let shit slide, whether it's guys showing up late to practice or guys messing up on a rep. He's going to get in their ass. I believe he's that type of coach.
Well, he's
too.
doing that already. As soon as somebody makes a mistake, they stop and they correct it.
Yeah, and I love that. So, I mean, he's done a great job at talking the talk. Now we just have to see him walk the walk. And, I think another thing that the players can relate to him and connect with him is just his story. I mean, when you listen to how he got to where he's at now, it's like he's one of the guys, and I would say the same thing about Sully too. Sully's a football guy, Chris Greer seemed to be more of like an analytics and one of those type of guys, as to where Sully is a football guy. Even though he's our GM, he is like one of the guys. So I think that's going to be beneficial.
The difference between those two men to me is Sully is a leader.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Greer was passive.
Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't trying to be a leader. He was just trying to be an executive in the organization and, all that BS. But going back to Hafley, just, like I said, his story, him sleeping in his coaching office for a couple years and just all the different phases that it took to get him to where he is now, I think the players will be able to connect. They've already, we've heard nothing but good things, which I don't think we'd hear bad things even if they were up to this point about Hafley. But, I have faith that he's going to be the guy. And like I said, he's definitely talked the talk so far, so we'll see how these guys come out on a week-to-week basis throughout the season, even when – because, at first, when there's a new regime, you're going to hear all these things that we want to hear and all that, but once that adversity starts to kick in and once, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if, we're 2-7, I want to see how we come out that next week, and see, are these guys still fighting for this coach or – is this kind of the same thing that we've seen the last few years?
Well, the majority of them, are, excuse me, the majority of them are on one-year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to come out and fight regardless because they're fighting for a job.
Yeah, but also, these guys take Javon Holland's a perfect example, guys who they make business decisions or once the season's chalked up, they're like, I don't want to risk, and not just how much effort these guys are giving on a week basis, but how prepared they are. Because that's going to be another big thing that I'm looking to see as far as the week to week goes. If guys are just getting beat because the guy on the other side is more talented than them, then that's fine as long as they were in the right position. And, it's like stuff like that is what I'm saying. I'm interested to see as far as the preparation, the discipline, how many penalties we're getting a game and stuff like that. Like some of the more little things that become big things if they're not addressed or,
Well, you know, sometimes when you're not as good, you hold and, you know, you do some things that are going to cause you penalties. So that kind of works both ways. It's not necessarily a sign of poor discipline. Sometimes it's a sign of trying to save a touchdown, you know.
Yeah, stuff like that. I'm talking about more so of the false starts, the illegal motion,
the mental errors.
And exactly. The stuff like that.
All right. I've got nothing else, guys. Lewis, anything?
No, I mean, we've been rattling for quite a bit here, so I think we're going to give the listeners a break until next time.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, guys, and thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it, and until next week, fins up, everybody.
Fins up.
Fins up, Dolphins.
And that's the end of another show. I want to thank the Believe Network for allowing us to join them this year, and the Dolphins Talk Network, who we've been a part of for many years. I want to thank both of these outfits. They're exceptional people, and we're proud and honored just to be a part of it. Until next time, take care.